Yo, what's up? Welcome to Motion 365 review. We're gonna do a board review this week. Got some my favorite boards right here and also my girlfriend's board down there. This one here we're gonna review this week is the Channel Islands Skye Bobby Quad, and I am officially in love. So feast your eyes on this 5/8 shred sled. This board has been absolutely amazing, and we're going to get into kind of the whys coming up. All right, so here we go. Bobby Quad. This is a PU board, and the dims are 5/8, 20 1/8, 2 5/8. Puts it just a C here under 34 liters, 33.8 liters. It's glassed, kind of unfortunately, with the CI ultralight glass, which in a world where I could have chosen, I wouldn't have chosen that glass, this glass. It is on the light side for PU, and the deck is holding up. There's actually not a ding or anything in the deck of this board yet, but I'm definitely starting to see a lot of underglass shatters. Everything's watertight. One little pressure ding from here from a trip down to the Santa Cruz area. Right there, little bump. The deck actually is held up nice. With the glass in mind, and I do like to run front traction. I run front traction as much to protect the deck, but also for the feel. So again, I'm 6'1", 180. This is 33.8 liters. I probably have by now 20 or so odd sessions in on this. Yeah, super rad little board. It definitely feels like a little skateboard, a little snowboard, which is more my background. It does pivots really nicely. It kind of skates through flats. It's got enough nose flip to kind of keep you out of trouble. So there's just enough nose in there. Some boards are like super flat and can ride flat. I had a baked potato at one point that, man, if you did anything wrong, it would be super easy to pearl. I kind of went over the handlebars a couple days ago at a pumping little beach break, but I think that was more user error than anything. So low entry rocker, and I believe it has a medium exit. So if we look at some contours here, so starting off pretty flat, moving up the board, it's going to move into a single fairly deep through here, that kind of engine. Bobby's been riding this Bobby Martinez. This is named after Bobby Martinez, if you hadn't got the memo on that yet. And basically it sounds like he just had them make the board and didn't put a lot of input. He just kind of told them what he wanted, and this is what they came up with. And then I think he got to refining it over the years. Big single here, all the way to right between the back fin. The end of the back fin, I believe, moves into a double concave. Double for sure in the back, big double, and then V in the tail. So kind of your classic single double V, which is, whoops, pay no attention to that. Single double V is kind of like, I don't know, it's my favorite overall contour that I like in my boards. And it's a contour that I would choose in my customs mostly all around. Yeah, so obviously quad only. This comes with the future setup. This year I've always been kind of into futures, but I I've experimented a lot with boards. The last 3 years, I've been experimenting pretty heavily with boards. I was a one board quiver kind of person for a long time. And speaking of which, as a one board quiver, if I were living in New England, back where in the New Hampshire, Maine region, this board right here at 5'8", I feel could be your daily driver for 75% of the days. Big winter nor'easter days, you're going to want something like a standard shorty, or maybe, you know, something you use as a step up, maybe a ghost for like the biggest howling offshore snowstorm kind of days. But this board, if you lived in New England, down to Florida, anywhere in that region, shit, Florida, this could be your daily driver for the whole year. Texas, regions like that. Outer Banks even, you probably just gets a little juicy there, so you'd probably want like a step up in between, and maybe at those locations you'd want a dedicated groveler. So as far as wave range, I think the CI website under the attributes gives this a knee to, you know, 8 foot or something like that rating. I've ridden this in 2 to 10 foot maybe faces, 8 to 10 foot, definitely 8 foot, little bigger than that as well. Mostly beach break. I have had it in some points as well. And the board just surprises me. It has a really beautiful sweet spot, which is anywhere your feet kind of land. You know, like any board, the more your back foot's gonna be over the fins, the better. But it doesn't punish you for mistakes like I feel like the Flat Earth does, or my beloved Tomo Cymatic would. I would have sessions on that I just would come in, I'd be like, that just sucked, or I sucked, or something. And this board just doesn't have that. It just even in marginal conditions, and again, marginal, I would say in a perfect world I wouldn't ride this much under waist high. Luckily in the PNW we have a lot of open ocean spots, so you don't need to surf tiny waves. We have really consistent waves, but there's a lot of quality is sometimes debatable. We have a lot of wind, we have a lot of current. I feel like this board paddles amazingly well. Like, I surfed this, took a little breather, and had a session last weekend over a 5-day period. I surfed 5 days straight, took the Flat Earth out. Couldn't believe how much this paddled better than a 6.0 Flat Earth with a pintail. And then I also took my NME sub drop out. The board paddles really well, but I quite literally felt like this 5.8 Bobby Quad can out paddle either of those boards. 6.3 Ghost, this board is in that realm, but I would say the Ghost would out paddle it. The Ghost paddles really, really well. What else? So anyway, I have futures set up. Pretty much have switched over to futures. I was experimenting and had some boards with FCS2, and I'm kind of over it, so I'm just going futures. So as far as fins, I don't mind getting weird. Kind of the magic-ish setup that I found early on was the Naked Viking C drives as fronts. It's basically like almost the base of a small keel. So pretty long base compared to, let's put it next to this Hayden shape. That's the rear. Just to give you a little idea. Next to a stretch. So that would be, to give you an idea how much longer that is. So I was running these on small days with these Futures Honeycomb QD2 3.75 rears. However, when it's got a little more juice, and it often does, I like running this setup here. So just the Hayden shape rears with the Naked Viking C drives. And then I saw a video with Tanner Godalkis. I believe it was Tanner. Mix all the brothers up, but I believe it was Tanner Godalkis just shredding this thing. And I was kind of curious of what he used for fins. So I made a comment, and he politely got back to me and said that he rocks the stretch quads. So went to Zug Life Surf Shop in Lincoln City. My boy Brian had these stretch quads, and he was right. Dane Godalkis was right. Tanner Godalkis. So it's this template here, kind of an upright template with good pivot, with a smaller rear that's got a little bit more of a sweep. This board, this 5/8 Channel Islands Bobby Quad will absolutely crank turns like a ghost, like a Paizel Ghost, like a full thruster. You can turn this board I can turn this board as hard as I can turn, and it's just not going anywhere. As far as it's not going to wash out. So this board is loose, but not loose like in a skate, like not, it's skatey, but not loose in a washout kind of way. If you put this thing on rail, it holds a turn like few boards I've ever ridden, like a Cymatic, like a Ghost, you know. Flat Earth is a board that rips turns, but it's a twin, or a 2+1. This quad board rips turns like it's just absolutely amazing. Because it paddles so well, gets into waves easy, and I've had a session 2 weeks ago at an A-frame beach break that was just going off its nut, and it was glassy as fuck, and this thing just came alive. I just had some very memorable rides on it. Some of the waves free fell down them, and yeah, it was incredible. It's got a really cool diamond tail, which is super sweet. It seems to allow some pivot, pretty parallel outline, and then I feel like it's got a little bit of a classic CI kind of, I wouldn't quite call it a flyer, but it's pretty close to that kind of flyer. So the tail, overall, the tail shape, I would not consider this a wide tail shape. Just for comparison, the puddle jumper, like a dedicated groveler. Oh boy, this is how accidents happen. This is how dreams are lost. Way bigger tail. Even with that pulled in little deal there, much bigger tail. So good for performance, probably not as good if you wanted to use this as the dedicated groveler. So I would not consider this a groveler. I would consider it a small wave performance board, I guess, or that's what like Noel Salas would categorize this, I would think. He has a review coming out. We'll see what he thinks. But overall, I would say this is a board. I think this is like a 2 to 8 foot kind of board. I think it punches below its weight. If a wave's throwing, like some open ocean spots we have here, and it's only throwing waist to chest or something, this board will shine all day long. If it's a weak beach break and it's knee high with waist high sets, you can do it, but it's not gonna probably be as fun as a dedicated groveler like a fling or something, like a super fling or a potato series or something like that. I'd like to compare this to the Cymatic overall. The Cymatic had channels, all sorts of channels. Tomo's a genius. I love Tomo stuff. This doesn't have channels. It feels predictable, but not boring. If a board feels super predictable, example for me, a predictable board would be a Hypto Crypto. Got on that board, it made me surf really just cleanly. Liked it, never loved it. I just felt kind of flat on it. I had a board called by Solid Surf called the Bean. Another board is very good. I don't know. It's like driving a fucking Toyota Camry or something, or whatever the one down from that is, the Corolla. You know, it's like a car that'll get you to work every day, but kind of boring. I would say this board has attributes of that, but is way more sparky. Way more sparky. Yeah, just nailed it. I would say too, Bobby Martinez, we haven't really talked about him, the namesake of the board. He rode this from the videos I've seen, about 5 years before releasing it to the public. So I think he took some time after they did the initial design on refining it. Rails are super hard in the back here, and then all the way up to here, there's still kind of just blends in to just a, you know, like a medium rail, kind of a foiled medium rail, like nice foil to the rails, doesn't feel chunky at all, like right here in the middle of the board. It just feels like the board is like consistent. You run your hands along this thing, there's no real weird stuff going on. There's some hard, and it just foiled really nice, and then there's a nice single into a pronounced double into a V, but it all just flows really nicely. So super impressed with this board. I'd be curious to rock this in a different tech or a different glass profile. I don't know if there's an ultralight, and I don't know if there's a team. This is a step up. Like I said, it's actually holding up really well to like foot impressions and all that. It's developing all these kind of shatters underneath the glass, like this big one here. There's all these, like, looks like a worm is under there or something. Big one there. I don't know if you can see these. So we'll see how it holds up. But this is the kind of board, 100% at this point, I would be into ordering another one when this one blew up, or having a local shaper do their best knockoff on it, just because it really works. Single, double V, nice little diamond tail to cut out kind of a, you know what you call it, it's like a rocket tail. Little bit of a pulled in tail, medium foiled rails, good plan shape overall. Small enough. If I had to pick a downside of this board, or something that's besides the glass on the bottom, that maybe not being the strongest potentially long term, I would say it doesn't duck dive like a board like the Flat Earth or the Enemy or the Ghost. It duck dives more like the Puddle Jumper. So you know, it does have a little more nose, but that nose is all the difference for me, especially. I'm a definitely more front-footed surfer, trying to be more the back-footed surfer, but I definitely have that snowboard style on the board. So the nose just allows that, you know, you make the drop and you want to get through a section, you can really just use the front of the board to help kind of get through the flats if you have them. It's been amazing this summer, late spring into summer here in the PNW, and yeah, I'm excited. There was one day I didn't paddle out on it. I was at a beach break that gets fairly heavy, and I had just gotten the board. I think it was my third or fourth session, or I was three sessions in, and I took out the sub drop instead. And now that I know this board, I 100% know that this board could have handled it. And it wasn't super heavy. It was only had high. It just breaks really hollow. And now that I know that would handle that with a plum. Nothing else crazy to report with this thing. Just highly impressed. I think Bobby and Skye knocked it out of the park with this one. First CI I've had, first dedicated CI that I've actually had, but I rode a 2SI Shane Smith, basically flyer knockoff for 10 years. It's now a wall hanger just because the foam's kind of funky. But it's my first CI, and I kind of knew coming into it about the glass. A friend of mine just snapped his Happy Every Day in half in Nicaragua. And I've had plenty of friends over the years that, you know, just, it's not about durability with CI. It's definitely about performance. But overall right now, I think we're in good hands. So anyway, long-winded review, and we got more reviews coming, including the Flat Earth, the Subdrop, Ghost. Yeah, I think there's been there, done that on the reviews on that. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and stay stoked.